Welcome to NFL Daily, where we're always having a great hair day. I'm Gregg Rosenthal, and beyond lucky today to be joined in the Chris Wessling podcast studio for the first time as a duo, Colleen Wolfe and Jourdan Rodrigue of The Athletic. Welcome, we've made it. This is a regular season show.
It's just us girls.
Well.
And Gregg.
Yes, this is going to be our regular Wednesday crew, which I'm very excited about.
So excited.
Steve Weiss will be here.
He's coming
plenty
in
of
today?
Wednesdays. Not today, but some weeks. So it won't be, me versus you guys, although I'd be down.
Why does it have to be
Why automatically are you adversarial?
You brought it. That's what you said.
Well, you have the Braveheart theme song, so I just
was being
already
inclusive.
was in that mindset.
Look, Colleen, just because you're feeling
you're one of the girls.
a certain sort of way coming back from Costa Rica while, your friend Jourdan is, grinding at Rams practice and writing features. You were off, but it's over. The summer counting's over. You're here.
Listen, I was working as well, trying to get a flight home, trying to get out of there. I got stuck there. And it's my fault because I was late. It's not like something bad happened. I just didn't time it correctly. But as it turns out, Uber is illegal in Costa Rica.
Oh.
And where I was staying was about a 3-hour drive to the airport. And the front desk messed up the transportation to the airport. So I had to take an illegal Uber by myself, which is fine. But they prefer you sit up front. And I was like, okay, so I'm sitting up front with the Uber driver who, he doesn't really speak any English. I don't really speak any Spanish, but we both know enough. And it turned into a 3-hour tutorial for both of us. However, about a half hour in, he starts asking me in broken English, if I have any friends that live there, if I'm single, how do you say beautiful woman? And I was like, do you have a gato? Do you have a cat? What about a dog? A pedo? Is that it? Trying to remember just very basic words. So everything was fine.
You didn't take out a book or something, or just.
No book. Everything was in the back. So it was just me and my phone and the driver. But he was cool, and we made it.
Well, you're here. It is.
She is here. She made
worried.
it.
What an adventure.
Would you do that trip again? You also, remarked that you were.
Don't even try and drag me for this.
Hey, there was a lot of rain. It's you were staying in the rainforest.
All right, I know. Gregg, listen, this was a race to that joke. I was making fun of people next to me the first night who were complaining about it raining in the rainforest. I get it. I just, after 5 days of raining, I would have loved to see a little bit of sun, but that's okay. I'm back, and you know what? I want to talk about football.
There we go.
And you know what? She's glowing.
Yes,
thank you.
I am very excited, not only because this is our first Wednesday show like this together, but we actually have a game to preview. We're going to preview the Chiefs and Ravens football game, which is happening very soon. We have a fun game where we're going to let loose the things we believe in the most strongly, and we're going to stand on the table for it. We're actually going to stand on a tiny table. You're going to see the tiny box stand on a tiny table.
As nature and God intended.
Exactly.
Yes, and
I like
for that, we're gonna do some news, and I do want to say, Colleen, we bend over backwards for you. You're a big time star. You're not even wearing a headset today because we didn't want to mess up with your hair.
It's because I have to do a show later on the network, and I said, can we figure this out to streamline the day, because the cans on the hair kind of leaves some marks sometimes.
It's a problem.
So
I get it. You don't want to be.
Bring me a microphone.
Like lowly podcasters and like Jourdan and I, so you can see the setup if you're watching on YouTube. This show is actually also going to be on television on the Fast NFL Network channel. If you watch on Wednesday, you can figure out where to find that. Let's do some news before we get to the fun. All right, let's start with a serious story that happened since we last taped. Ricky Pearsall suffered a gunshot wound to the chest during a robbery attempt. If you're an NFL fan, you probably followed this story, which has a relatively happy ending, is that he is feeling well. His mother, Erin, said in a social media post initially that a bullet entered through her son's chest and exited out his back. He was a victim of a robbery. The San Francisco Police Department say a 17-year-old is in custody and will be tried in juvenile court. But the great news is that Ricky Pearsall is healthy, and he was placed on the NFI list, the non-football injury list, just as a housekeeping measure. But John Lynch, their GM, spoke about it on Tuesday.
I wanted to touch on, at the time of all this going on, we had a team party that was scheduled. When I got to the hospital and visited with Ricky, it was one of the first things he said, "Mr. Lynch, what's going on? I would really like everyone to go to that party, and I'd also like to talk to some of my teammates." I said, "Ricky, you take care of yourself," but kind of a cool moment. We were able to pipe Ricky into the party, and he FaceTimed the entire group, and that show of love and respect was a real special moment for our team.
Man, and what can you say about this other than just you're happy that he's okay? Their first-round pick, if you didn't know that, wide receiver for the team, Jourdan. And John Lynch said in that press conference he actually expects that Pearsall will be able to play football this year.
Yeah, he can come off. I mean, obviously want him to get well, and thank God, it didn't turn out worse than this. It's a really scary situation. He can come off, the reserve non-football list after 4 games, and the 49ers, just as a technical point, they'll have 8 opportunities to do this. They might not need all of them, but that's one of 8 that you can activate off of these designations through the course. I thought the really cool thing, Colleen, was like the people stayed the night with him at the hospital. In lieu of parents maybe being there, able to be there in the immediate after effect. And it sounds like his mom, got there for the update as soon as possible. But that's really scary. Sounds like not just John Lynch, but several members of the front office and coaching staff were able to be there with him at the hospital.
My heart, like just this story, when I first heard it, I don't know why I just thought that maybe a bullet had kind of grazed him or something, because I just started seeing the push alerts coming to my phone, and I didn't initially think that it was he got shot in the chest and it went through his chest. And just watching the video of him walking to the ambulance and how visibly shaken he was, which obviously if you have a gunshot wound to your chest, and the stories from the police officers that helped him out, the one officer said that Ricky Pearsall, he looks at me and he's like, "Am I going to die?" And I just said, "No." And she said, I took my hat off because I wanted to make eye contact with him and I wanted him to hear me. And I said, "Listen, look at me. I know you don't know me, but I want you to trust me. It's not your time." And she was applying pressure to the gunshot wound with her right hand. She said it was her strong hand, and just an absolutely insane thing, I think, to go through, to see, whether you're a teammate, whether you're him, whether you're his family, whether you're the doctors, and police officers and doctors see stuff like this, unfortunately, all of the time. But for the most part, we're not talking about things like this. We're not talking about near-death experiences, because if the first responders didn't get there when they did, if it was a different angle at all, this story could be so tragic. And the fact that we just heard John Lynch talking about Ricky Pearsall saying that he wanted his teammates to go to this party, and Jourdan, you're saying that they stayed overnight with him because his closest people in his life couldn't be there right away. I mean, I don't want to say it's a feel-good story, because it's not, but the way that this kind of twisted and turned is really unbelievable.
Yeah, well, the response from the first responders all the way through to people who have showed support, to your point. I mean, that's just, it's extraordinary work.
Yeah, and his mom, who was really updating the public on a lot of levels about just pointing out how fortunate in some ways they were that it missed vital organs. So, yeah, Godspeed to Ricky Pearsall getting better. We'll be tracking his progress, and it comes at a time when there's so much on-field football stuff with the 49ers coming back together. Literally, Brandon Ayuk was on the field practicing on Monday, and he spoke with the media. And so, so Brandon Ayuk is back on the field. They have their guys, Juwan Jennings, who's not as big of a name, but is their number 3 receiver, who also got a nice contract this offseason, been hurt throughout training camp. He returns to the field on Monday. And then even bigger news for them, Trent Williams' holdout is ending on the path to San Francisco. His agent sends out a tweet that they're working towards the deal. So it didn't exactly finalize, although he was like in the plane when the agent sent it out. But everyone is confident now that Trent Williams is returning. And if you had to guess when it was going to be sometime last week or early this week. We are seeing this now. And Trent Williams' situation is different because it was about money, and we'll get the details. He's one of the best tackles of all time. He's certainly one of the best tackle in the league right now, and he'll get paid for it. But there is something about these veterans that just don't want to do training camp. Tyler Lockett spoke today. He's a receiver for the Seahawks, of course, and he returned to the field, and they were like, "Oh, yeah, what were you dealing with when you weren't practicing all camp?" And he was just like, "Oh, just maintenance. I'm just older."
Hanging out.
I love it. I respect it.
Right, he's working out. Believe me, they're like they're working out. He's
stuck in Costa Rica.
They gave him camp off. So Trent Williams got camp off, and they're all back, and we spent all this time on this stuff. This is the part of the show where every year we're like, hey, next year at this time, it's like we shouldn't spend all that time on it. But I don't know. What else are we going to talk about?
Well,
Trent Williams is kind of
a huge deal. Like, I mean, he's a huge guy, and he is so important to this offense. I would argue that this is more important than the Brandon Ayuk deal getting done because of the way that Kyle Shanahan runs everything, because he's able to do so much. He's so important to the run game. I mean, they've used him in motion, too, as a tight end before. Like, it is, I think, just, yeah, sure. We spend so much time talking about these things. And Ja'Marr Chase, he's still not done. But this, I never had a doubt would get finished before the season began.
Well, you brought it up. Let's talk Ja'Marr Chase, actually.
Mm-hmm.
Ja'Marr Chase, this one is a little more up in the air. And you can say that because he went back to practice at one point. Then he was back out of practice. Then he's like kind of at practice. And Zach Taylor, their coach, just doesn't seem to know whether he's going to suit up for week one, at least as we tape this against the Patriots.
Do you expect Ja'Marr Chase to play on Sunday?
We'll just take it day to day.
Do you have to put together a game plan that includes him and not having him?
Yeah, we're always ready. There's always injuries and things you got to deal with, so we're adept at that.
If Ja'Marr does play, could he do a full snap count, full load?
I mean, it's impossible for me to say with 100% conviction, but I feel good about the shape that he's in.
Yeah, that's a coach who someone in the front office was like, hey, man, walk back what you said a couple days ago and maybe just go with the day-to-day approach on this. Obviously, absolutely crucial to have Ja'Marr Chase back in the fold. This is kind of one of those where, similar to Trent Williams, actually, I mean, I was more worried about the Brandon Ayuk deal not necessarily getting done than either of these two, Trent Williams and also Ja'Marr Chase, getting done. He's so crucial. And everything you hear out of Bengals camp with icy Joe Burrow this summer is that he is ready to go. He's ready to go on a bit of a injury revenge tour, I guess, that he's feeling good. There was the cycle of features that sort of came out on him over this last week about really what he has been working on and how he's approaching the position and really his legacy at this point. And so you need to have Ja'Marr Chase, his favorite target. The rapport is undeniable. The chemistry, the production, he has 25% of their target share, 1,216 yards, even without Joe Burrow. And he does everything, 0.35 EPA per target. And he's running a third of his routes are in breakers, which means he's producing as a quarterback-friendly target, as like a quarterback helper.
He made Jake Browning look like Joe Burrow.
Yeah, I mean, that's fair.
Joe Burrow is going to need him back. And if not, so what? You're going to be, I mean, it's not bad to be relying on T. Higgins, but that's going to be your de facto number one. And of course, he had the down year, his worst year because of the rib and the hamstring injuries last season. He, though, I mean, had back-to-back 1,000-yard seasons in 21 and 22. So you can rely on him, but not having Ja'Marr Chase for any point of time is not a great thing for the Bengals. I think about Chris Jones last year sitting in the luxury box, watching the Chiefs, and the fact that they could not get a pass rush going whatsoever. And Chris Jones was just kicked back, relaxing.
The difference is the Bengals play the Patriots week one. They'll probably have like CBS's number 6 broadcast team on that game. They do not need Ja'Marr Chase in week one. And it's a situation where he's only making $1 million in base salary this year. His 5th-year option doesn't start till next year. So he's still got 2 years left on this contract. So he could sit out if he wanted to because he's not giving up some massive check. I feel like this is all going to be out of date by the time we tape our preview show or our Thursday night recap show. Jourdan, you are doing.
I know it's too much,
with
Jourdan.
me. So
Too much,
Never.
Jourdan.
Never.
No, we're doing a rotating guest on the Thursday night show, but Jourdan is kicking it off in fine style. So we'll see. I think that'll get taken care of. All right, I want to get to our segment, but just quickly, a couple items of news I'm just going to roll through. Adoree Jackson signed with the Giants. I had him ranked apparently way too high on my top 101 free agents. But
Where was he?
Like 55 or something. He was still unsigned. Why are you making a face?
Just listen. I'm just wondering.
She's asking questions.
Do you guys even know each other? Like,
Don't try and turn
Listen
us
to how he
against
does
each
that.
other.
No, I'm just
all
saying,
right?
like, did
he's
you-
immediately. He's
Yeah,
immediately.
listen.
just
We already
for
have
the
an alliance
listeners, like,
formed.
do you know each? I did that. Like, what is the
When we're on-
Jourdan Colleen relationship?
when we're
just
on-
getting to know each other.
When we're on Quarterback Island together, you'll find out.
Yeah.
Okay, I want to do that in a couple weeks. Adoree Jackson had 2 really good seasons for the Giants, and he's only 28 or 29 years old. And he had a disastrous season where it looked like he might not have been trying his hardest at the end of last year, maybe making some business decisions. But that's a big signing for them at their absolute worst position. Tom Brady cannot go into facilities as the Fox broadcaster because he's trying to buy a piece of the Raiders. I kind of think he has to make a choice here, but we'll see. Like, he should choose to either buy the Raiders or be the broadcaster. I don't think he's giving up the broadcasting.
I think he's gonna probably buy the Raiders.
Okay. Well,
right.
he's probably going to do both and just not go and meet with teams ahead of time.
I think
and
about
not go
like
to
the
practice.
logistics though. You have to go to practice. You have to be in the production meetings unless you're getting secondhand fed information, which
Yeah,
you
that's
could.
what he
You
would.
could always do it.
That's what he would do.
Here's the thing though. I remember this when you know the buildings were shut down and everything during the
COVID.
early stage of the COVID-19 pandemic, and it was like bathrooms were a big question. There's like Tom Brady can't be in a facility. Is there like a special Brady bathroom that's like outside of all these like those are long days for production teams. If you can't.
Well,
be
he
in a
can go
facility.
on. Yeah, he won't be able to go in. So
He can't go inside, but you could pass him information.
But there's, I mean, he could do Zoom.
He's showing up
right?
on
They'll
game
probably
day.
Zoom him in, and like he'll have a porta potty.
No, he can't. He can't talk to him. It's a whole thing. It's on my radar that Tom Brady, who makes all these speeches about like, hey, it's all about you have to earn your spot, and it's all about how hard you work, and it's all about like this and that. And it's like instead he's flying in ahead of an Emmy winner, Gregg Olsen, who's probably much better at him, and he's admitting right off the bat, I can't do my job as well as like everyone else who does this job because I'm trying to buy the Raiders, but it's fine. I'm Tom Brady. So that's on my radar. And then finally, Mike McDaniel had to squeeze that into the show. I don't like it. It's like he's the Drew Bledsoe in this scenario.
Wow.
And Gregg Olsen.
I agree.
is
He
Tom
should
Brady.
choose.
He should choose.
Yeah,
It's
I
kind of
agree he has to
irresponsible,
choose.
to be
Yeah,
honest. Like,
I agree with you. He has to choose.
people are like, oh, it's not that big of a deal. Like
It's going to become
like,
it's
really,
gonna
you can't talk
turn
to
it
the
into.
coach?
Hey Tom, here's a free idea for you. You know, turn it into a Netflix show. Tom's Choice.
Yeah.
The
There you go.
Decision.
There we
part
go.
I like that.
Two. Yeah.
As someone who prepares an unbelievable amount, Tom Brady, you would think that this would be like not even an issue.
And he will prepare for the job. I think he's going to try to do a good job. All that. I'm wrong. I didn't even think he would end up taking this job. But the main thing is he also isn't allowed to criticize officials if you're a team owner. That to me was the key one. So he literally can't criticize officials as part of the game broadcast. Finally, Mike McDaniel was extended through 2028. Always smart for the coaches to get extended before a season starts. So if there's some ups and there's some downs, Mike McDaniel is guaranteed through 2028. That makes a lot of sense. This Dolphins organization looks better than it has for a while. So do we, frankly. Week 1, I'm wearing a new polo. I'm wearing some makeup. We're looking great, and we're going to stand on some tiny tables right after a quick break.
Tiny table.
Every 5 minutes, someone in the broadcasting community loses a half-inch of volume in their perfectly plumped hair. In the Chris Westling podcast studio, that someone could be Colleen Wolfe, unless you step in to help. Only with your support can we protect the locks of the tiny box. It's on all of us to save Connie's hair.
Paid for by the Game Day Morning producers. Let's face it, Colleen's most important show.
Okay, I'm sweating now. Yeah, listen, we must protect the hair at all costs.
It's important.
And yeah, today this is the first time in maybe 8 years that I didn't do my hair and makeup myself. So this was a big deal.
And we commemorated it accordingly.
Here we are,
Look,
volume and all.
We see where we are in the pecking order, but we accept it. And your hair is a natural resource. And I do want people to
Thank you.
understand that, like, the NFL Daily isn't just like a show about football. It's about standing for something.
That's exactly right. I really appreciate that. I have long been a crazy person about my hair as someone who cut it all off in 7th grade and then never had a boyfriend again until I went to college. So yeah, I mean, it must be protected. Thank you.
I'm sure that hasn't come up with your therapist at all. That story. I'm so excited for Colleen to be able to do the show, for us to have figured out a workaround. And believe me, it's a heavy production value show. If you're watching on YouTube or on our Fast channel, you can see that we have a tiny table on our desk with the NFL Daily insignia. And what we wanted to do in this show, we've done so many shows already, daily shows since July. So you kind of have a feel of what my takes are on most things. And we've heard a lot of Jourdan's. I'm waiting to hear more and more Colleen's. Yeah, she was busy.
Busy doing my hair.
But like, what do we actually? We have to give opinions on every team. But what do we feel like the strongest about? What will we stand on the table for? And Jourdan and I were talking. We haven't run this by you, Colleen. We want to put some stakes on this too. Maybe at the end of the year, we were thinking we could do like a chore for each other or something. We were thinking, she thought maybe she would do your dry cleaning. Like if you win, we would do your dry
I saw it here the other day.
I totally left it in the studio for 2 weeks. Didn't even know. Brought it in, put it on the chair, and then left.
So maybe whoever loses does Colleen's dry cleaning.
I thought we were going to do steaks, like actual steaks.
Okay.
Like
well,
I'm into that.
Oh, that would be fun too.
I'm into that.
I was thinking a chore, like you guys, someone has to wash the car.
I don't want to have anyone do anything for me.
Like all
right, steaks.
Immediately, his
steaks is good.
Yeah, what you want us to
You
cook you dinner,
up.
Greg? Is that what you want us to go in the kitchen?
This was Jourdan's idea. All right, so here's what we're gonna do. We're gonna stand on the tiny table and we're gonna tell you what we feel most strongly, and we're gonna have a triumvirate in the back who decides at the end of the year who won, who was right. So you have to be nice to these 3 people all season. It's gonna be Eric Roberts, Randy Chavez, and Christy Stapleton. They will
Greg,
be
that's just a reminder for yourself.
Who you should be nice to anyway.
Of course we would be. I'm just saying, like, if there's any vagueness, they decide who is best in terms of the take. So I'm gonna stand on the table, and this might be a little bit awkward. Oh, finally, this is one of my fantasies.
Look at how tall you are,
to be how
this tall. And look, I could stand here on the table and avoid the royal blue elephant in the room, the vintage royal blue elephant. I could stay silent and I could pretend, what's brewing in the Pacific Northwest, like, isn't happening. But like, let's be real. But you're biased, they say, Greg. We're going to stop, quote unquote, listening to your podcast if you keep talking about Geno Smith. I don't care. Like, I don't need you. And I really believe it. If this is going to be a Geno Smith season, it's 2024. There's only going to be one time that Ryan Grubb is coming into the NFL and is a first-time offensive coordinator and is dialing up plays that people aren't going to be ready for. It's going to be the last time, I think, Tyler Lockett is with DK Metcalf and Jackson Smith and Jigba. It's going to be the first time Mike McDonald's going up against this division time after time. I think they're loaded. I believe in this team. I believe in this quarterback in this year more than ever. I think they're winning the division. I think they're going to the playoffs. It's a Seahawks year. I'm standing on the tiny table for.
Woo-wee! Wow, Greg.
Some heat.
Coming
from a great height.
It is awkward.
It's trickling down into the...
I think we decided, before the show that we'd stay standing on the table for maximum awkwardness.
Okay.
But now that I'm still here talking to you,
how's that going?
It feels pretty awkward.
Hold on, buddy. Hold on.
They're making the playoffs. That's
Okay.
I want it to be definitive, but they are making the playoffs. I do truly believe that this is going to be a fun year.
I have Seattle as a playoff team. I have them edging into the playoffs. I don't have it as definitive as perhaps you do. I just think that this is going to take some time, and I think that this division is so tough, the NFC West, with the 49ers now going to be at full strength, right? Christian McCaffrey started practicing again this week.
Greg is still standing on the table.
He's still on the table.
Feeling weird about it.
I feel really good. I'm next. So
I'm getting flashbacks. I mean, first of all, this is great. I'm getting flashbacks to the horrible best man speech I made at Dave Bennett's wedding. I feel bad about that.
Don't lock your legs,
Dave.
Greg.
He said, he's like, no, it's fine. You know, you got a lot of heart in it, but like that's where I feel right now.
I do think that you're on the right track
Yeah.
with the Seahawks. I don't know that it's going to be as definitive as you think it is. However, because I do think that this offense will still need some time to figure itself out. First-time coordinator. He is a great coordinator. I believe in this offense. I believe that the defense will come along. I think it'll take maybe a little bit more time for this defense to sort itself out in live action as well. But back half of the year is when this Seahawks team, I think, does edge in and make a push to edge into the playoffs. I don't know that I would go as strong as...
Right, especially right out of the gate, because the offense to me is kind of an enigma at this point. I don't know what to expect from...
You don't know what box to put it in?
I don't know.
Okay.
I don't know what box.
Talent, though. And I think this is the perfect offense for Geno. I've actually held back talking too much Geno and Ball on the show because I know it can be a lot. But this is an offense that is asking him to do a lot.
Still talking about Geno Smith.
That's asking him to make all the decisions at the line. That's like, to me, it's taking advantage of what he can do best, which is win from the neck up. I feel absolutely great about it. I feel great about this segment, and I think it's time to pass the tiny table over to Jourdan.
I regret everything.
Jourdan's dog's tiny table.
Who is so cute.
This is the Tucky table.
Oh.
Okay.
Right.
Hopefully my zipper is done. Okay.
You're good. You're good.
Okay.
We're good.
Thanks.
No
Clear.
need to call attention.
Good. Okay. My take that I'm willing to stand on the table for, especially after I went to Houston and watched the Texans in joint practice, I am standing on the table for this Houston Texans team, not only to make a deep playoff run, but to be in the Super Bowl this season. They are building around CJ Stroud on this cheap rookie deal. They are outstanding and well coached on both sides of the ball. Year 2 of this defense, and they added pieces, including Danielle Hunter, who's going to come off the edge with Will Anderson. I think that is an absolutely crucial 1-2 punch. CJ Stroud might have 3 1,000-yard receivers this year.
Well, you said they will, according to the graphic.
Yes.
Make the Super Bowl and have 3. That's very specific. And have 3 1,000
I am clear on that.
receivers.
Stephon Diggs has had, 6 consecutive seasons of 1,000-plus yards. Nico Collins, obviously, is a 1,000-yard plus receiver. And I think Tank Dell has a real shot at being the third 1,000-yard receiver. And he was at 700 yards last season. And I think Bobby Sloak knows how to spread the field out and get multiple targets to the ball. They've got some really solid blocking, and Dalton Schultz extending him this offseason. That's going to help Joe Mixon find his legs a little bit. Again, I know he's not Joe Mixon of a few years ago, but he looked great at these joint practices. This team, I'm telling you guys, looked professional. They looked physical. They looked deep. They looked massive. I'm picking the Texans to be in the Super Bowl.
I love it.
They're
I love
young. They're
young.
They're well run.
They're feeling themselves, but they're not going there. You felt like these are
everything's perfect.
These are grown-ups going about this task that they know is like right in front of them. That was the entire vibe from that practice.
So Seahawks, Texans.
They're just like, yeah.
I'm still standing.
Yeah, they're at this perfect moment in time right now. They're like Leo and Kate Winslet in Titanic. They're just ready.
Everything is perfect and nothing hurts.
Well, not the dead part. I just mean more in real life, but just
I'll never
made
let
that
go,
movie.
Jack.
More like in real life, making that.
That's gonna be CJ Stroud's receivers catching the ball for him. They're not gonna drop that. They're not gonna drop the ball.
I feel like we spent a whole week practically on the Texans like 2 or 3 weeks ago. I feel like if it's okay that a lot of people, I know, I've rethought maybe we'll sit down while we have the conversation. I don't know. I like how awkward you feel. All right, I want to hear Colleen's.
All right.
First.
Okay, I'm passing the tiny table off to Colleen.
We're doing it a few times.
All right. So
these are important. Remember, at the end of the year, the triumvirate will decide.
Well, if
the best part is getting back into the chair.
That there were going to actually be some stakes here, I maybe would have changed some things up because I'm like, I've talked too much about the Falcons winning the division this year, and like I think the Colts are going to be really good.
I agree.
That's fine. Whatever.
Ooh, you're on the Colts again. I love this for you.
You know I can't quit the Colts. I can never quit the Colts. This is going to be the year. Honestly, can I
throw them into the speed round? It's fine.
All right, hold on.
And I think
State.
She is getting on the table.
It's a little trickier because she has an earpiece in.
Rare.
The Tucky Tiny table.
All right, hold on a second.
No, we want you to actually stand on the table.
No, I have flip-flops on. I can't.
Oh, you are? Okay.
I'm on the table.
Colleen,
that's a bad joke.
Colleen is now average person height.
Wait, I know. So what? Now I am like, I don't know. This is
Should I lower my chair? Should I lower my chair?
I know.
You guys are seeing up here? This is pretty good.
I know.
How's the oxygen?
I can see the top of everyone's head. That's amazing.
I suddenly like had a feeling of like, oh, this is what it was like for all those like Swedish two-lane tennis players. Oh my gosh, she just pulled out the mic.
If it's
that's exciting.
Honestly, this is great. This is better this way.
Go.
All right, here we go. You guys still got me back there? Good. All right, great, perfect. Honestly, I feel better. All right, well, I broke the mic, but it's fine. So, guys, it's been a long time coming, but we're finally here. We have made it. And for me, at least, I am basking in the absolute glory of a prediction that will come true. And so it might come as a shock to some of you, but it shouldn't. When the Bills actually run the football all year long.
Okay.
I love it.
When they do the thing that they have been promising us for so long, don't be surprised. Don't be shocked because it's going to happen. Sure, Joe Brady has a predilection for the run game anyway, but this approach is born out of sheer necessity. The Bills need to utilize the run game because of their liabilities that they now have in this defense. The safety position is a troubling department at this point with the injuries that they've had, trying to replace Jordan Poyer and Micah Hyde. Matt Milano leaving a huge void in that defense. They need to play ball control. And we already saw it in its nascent phase last year, week 11, when Joe Brady took over. We saw how that offense operated. He made James Cook a focal point of the offense. And you have a quarterback that is so good when he's able to play free. This offense is so much better when they're able to get in rhythm, run the ball, and then open things up downfield. This is what they will do this year, and they're built for it. So I don't want anyone to say it's not going to happen, and maybe draft one of their running backs early for your fantasy team. I don't know.
I mean, the season is starting soon. You probably
Thursday.
have done your fantasy draft, but you're right. Any late? I'm glad you mentioned that because I was just checking that. I recommended to my daughter to take James Cook, and so that was one of her first.
Well, that's how I know that you also believe in this.
I really do. We did the AFC preview last week. I did it with Nick Wright. We will absolutely take a break after this to fix
I can fix
your
it.
microphone. And
she can fix him.
I would stand on the table for this too. I would stand on the table for I picked the Bills to go to the Super Bowl. I have the Bills winning the Super Bowl this year. Now, how confident? I do. You have to pick someone, and they're the team I like the best.
Beating who?
Beating the Lions in the Super Bowl. That's my Super Bowl. But I don't need to stand on the table because I've been doing it all month, and I think Josh Allen's going to be an MVP. He can be part of this running the ball, and I absolutely believe what you said that James Cook is going to be the guy to help make Josh Allen look even better.
There's been a lot of questions this offseason about especially with the departure of Stephon Diggs and who's Josh Allen going to throw to?
Exactly.
And I kind of point to the increased tight end usage that we're going to see, but then also what does already being in a heavier personnel do for your offense? Oh yeah, you could run the ball.
Exactly.
And I think that when people are curious or concerned, and I've heard this in the zeitgeist, right? That people are concerned about the Bills maybe falling off a little bit or tripping over themselves. If you can run the ball when it gets cold, you're going to be fine. You will not implode. In fact, it'll fortify you, especially if you're already in those heavy personnel sets.
Okay. I thought we were going to have to take a break to fix Colleen's microphone.
She is
but we're just going to go through.
I fixed
she
a
is
lot
a
of
star.
Amazing.
Look at this.
Look, I'm rewiring electric at my house.
She used the word predilection as she was holding.
Second, I'm breaking the tiny.
I need the tiny
it's
table.
It's not graceful, but I'll get it done.
We had a feeling this would be a little
there you
tricky,
go.
and it was. Thank you for the tiny table. Yeah, look, Colleen, we could use a Colleen around our house to do some electric work, to do some
And
building.
we have a stool for you to
The
sit.
only like notable
I
skill
need it.
I have in the world is making absolutely correct football predictions.
Greg
like
is now
over
standing on the
and
mic.
over,
Mm.
picking the games, picking what's going to happen, picking when things are going to be good, picking when things are going to be bad. And this year, it's going to be really bad for the Dallas Cowboys. Like we've danced around this, but I do want to put this down for posterity. They are going to collapse this year. This is the year it all goes bad. Let's just look at the roster.
Greg, you've never sounded better.
Let's look at the roster.
Sounds so tall.
I know. You know what's funny is at first I had a really lame one where it was like either the Eagles or the Cowboys. No, if you're gonna stand on the table, you got to make a decision. It's gonna be the Cowboys. All right. First of all, let's just quickly go through the roster. Running back, major questions. Offensive line with a bunch of new rookies, major questions. Wide receivers after CeeDee Lamb, major questions. The linebackers, what's got him killed last year, still major questions. Oh yeah, Eric Kendricks is gonna save you. Like, when has that worked? And then let's go talk about the coaching staff and everything else going on. Okay, Dak Prescott, we know that's a strange situation. Mike McCarthy playing out a contract year. That's a strange situation. You know what put me over the top was this bizarre Mike Zimmer profile in the Minneapolis Star Tribune, which I signed up for a one-day subscription for just to read. Great job by the reporter there. And Mike Zimmer, who I understand has gone through a lot personally, has gone through a lot of personal tragedy. I feel for him as a person, as a man. But the way he talked about the Minnesota Vikings when he left there with absolutely no accountability, burying a bunch of his old players and making fun of them and taking no responsibility for what he did. I'm just like, that part of Mike Zimmer to me is a sad way to live. And are we sure that Mike Zimmer is going to be good at this? Because here's how I would describe the Minnesota Vikings the last couple of years when he was their coach. Ineffective on defense. He's a defensive coach. They were below average back-to-back years. They were 25th one year in DVOA on defense. And here's what the Dallas Cowboys were at the end of last season on defense. Ineffective. Like, they gave up 35 to the Seahawks. They gave up a ton to the Packers. They were not playing well. I don't think the personnel is there. I think all the storm building around them is going to collapse in on them, and Dak is going to be like, deuces and so long.
I was thinking when I read that's the kind of, and it was really a well done interview and story by the reporter. But that's the kind of interview you do when you just go all in on the record like that, when you know that you've got kind of a free space this year, because nothing is certain after this year for the Cowboys. So you're kind of, normally a defensive coordinator is not going to sit there and draw that kind of attention to himself. But if you understand, hey, this is a year and who knows what's going to happen?
Yeah, but he's trying to rebuild his
is he
career.
Is he, or is he just like, you know what? I don't know what's going to happen this year. I don't know what's going to go on with this team either. And hey, I have an opportunity right now to take down some people on the way out. Why not?
And the weirdest thing he said in that entire, and he said a lot of weird things.
Table.
I'm still on the table. He said a lot of weird things, but the number one weird thing was when he talked about the playoff win that they had in 2019, which, you know, if our listeners don't remember, I didn't either. All those Viking seasons blend in. That was kind of a down year for the Vikings, but they snuck into the playoffs and they were heavy underdogs. And Kirk Cousins won his only playoff game in a really kind of desultory game in New Orleans. They were huge underdogs in that game, and that saved Zimmer's job. And Zimmer said, I love Zimmer for this. He was like, yeah, I messed around and won that game. He's like, because if I didn't, he was probably going to get fired and he was going to get the Cowboys job because Jerry Jones wanted Mike Zimmer. And so Zimmer said that probably didn't work out for me in the long run because I didn't get the job that went to Mike McCarthy, who I'm now working for. That's just a mess. They hinted, there were reports that like Jerry Jones wanted Mike Zimmer, but McCarthy didn't. Like, it's just a lot. It's happening. I'm off.
You know what's
I'm off the tiny table.
Because as you're saying this, it's reminding me of what's happening in Philadelphia with Nick Sirianni and
very
Kellen
similar.
Moore.
They really are.
Do you want the table
mirroring
first,
each other?
No, you're up next. You're up
okay.
next.
Don't try and offload the table on me.
I was unloading.
I'm going to break some things first.
This is looking a little bent here now. It's like,
oh, that felt good.
Break it to Tucker.
That felt good.
That was a good.
You're settling.
Well, just
in
I wanted
now?
to get
table talk.
No, I love the tiny table talk.
Okay, this kind of goes hand in hand. Your Cowboys take goes a little bit in hand with one of my other ones that I have. A take that I am willing to stand on this fine, slightly bent tiny table.
Did I actually break it?
No, it's
Oh, okay.
I'm gonna have to tell my dog about your shenanigans later, but
Maybe we can figure out a deal. I don't want him to know.
I think that at least one starting quarterback is going to get traded before the trade deadline this year. That is the take that I stand on the tiny table for. You know, I've been pushing this Dak Prescott thing from the perspective of the front office. This is not reporting. When I say perspective of the front office, I'm merely putting myself into Jerry Jones's shoes and quickly stepping back out again. And I think that if you are a front office and you're looking at the situation with Dak Prescott, or you're another team with a quarterback and you have an incumbent player behind him who you like and things start to go wrong, you're really looking at trying to recoup whatever you can from other teams and letting those teams figure things out. I know that Dak Prescott will probably want to hit the market as a free agent and really perhaps achieve some new highs there. And I think any player of his caliber, of any caliber, should want to get as much money as they possibly can. But I'm going to stand on the table and say that Jerry Jones is going to want to save face on this situation, or another front office executive, a general manager across the league. I'm looking at perhaps the Saints, perhaps the Falcons, perhaps the Steelers. You're going to want to save face on this. If it's not the guy, or you have an unresolved situation coming up in free agency, you're going to try to recoup whatever you can through that player, through moving that player from another team instead of letting them leave and taking nothing or having to make a tough decision in the offseason.
That's bold. Like, you've gone pretty bold with both of yours, and I really like that.
I'm standing on the tiny table.
Yes, you are.
Feeling the confidence of my dog flowing through me.
If I was ranking the quarterbacks most likely to be traded before the trade deadline.
Oh, this is fun.
But if you argue, let me cut you off right there because I'm on the table and I've got the high ground. If you are,
You've always got the high ground.
That's true. I do always have the high ground.
I mean, it's not that high.
If you are arguing though that the Cowboys do in fact
you're
implode,
short, Greg.
If you're you're short.
I get it. I'm just saying, like,
That's a drop.
Jourdan's not like some 6'2" or anything. Let's calm down.
Tiny tables really taking
in my brain. In my brain, I right now I am actually. Okay, so if you are arguing that the Cowboys will in fact implode, if that is true, then it is also true that a team with that sort of level of implosion without people extended on the backside, including their head coach, are going to want to recoup whatever they can. So if that is true, then I think this is also possible.
Smart.
You would be the first person to have this out there. You will win the NFL this year.
Well,
if you are right on this one. That's
a big if.
They did extend.
But I'm standing on the
table. They did extend the
Yeah.
trading deadline. They pushed it back a week, but it's still only after week 9, so it's still so early. So it's like they have to be like one. They would have to be 1-8 or something.
But if you've had an entire offseason, entire camp, like at that point where your team is at. If you are any GM, worth a dang in this league, you are absolutely going to know the state of not only your current roster, but where you have to go next. And I'm not saying it's going to be specifically the Cowboys and Dak. I think that would be really interesting. And certainly the stakes are moving toward Jerry Jones wanting to recoup something out of this, right? Watching his nature for the last several years running this team. But I don't think it's just, regulated to the Cowboys specifically. I think there are a few teams, like I mentioned, who either they're talking about benching their starter or they're talking about potentially moving into the future.
Now, does Jacoby Brissett count? I don't think they would trade him anyways, but do you win this if you get the right? But so of the names you mentioned, I would rank in terms of guys that could get traded.
Still there.
Still here.
I'd probably go 1 Carr, 2 Cousins, maybe 1 Cousins, 2 Carr, and then Dak and Russ. No one's gonna want to trade for Russ.
No.
I think that's fair. I think you're
even all those would
mostly
be long
I'm saying
shots.
that so I can get down.
Yeah, those would be long shots. All right, let's wrap up. Colleen, you're gonna give the last full one. We're gonna take a break and do a speed round after that.
My gift to you.
Thank you so much. I will be so careful with it this time. All right, hold on. We got some wires we're dealing with here.
Got to move the microphone.
Getting back into the chair
now I
is
know.
actually
You know what? I'm
more
going to go ahead and take it out again because it's just easier to stand on the table.
You look like a stand-up comic, and that would be a fun role for you.
Listen, I almost took classes this summer. Almost being the key word. Okay, here we go.
Our friend Rachel Bonetta killing it.
I know. She keeps trying to get me to do classes. She's so good. All right, here we go. Trevor Lawrence has a career best season. It's about to happen. The Florida man with the blonde flowing locks is about to shine brighter than we have seen him shine before. His offensive line is so much improved at this point. Now they have the addition of Mitch Morse at center. He has great weapons around him, a healthy Christian Kirk. Those last 5 games of the season were rough. Trevor Lawrence was also banged up at that point. Calvin Ridley, the experiment is over. They'll be able to stretch the field with Gabe Davis and Brian Thomas Jr. Look, it's year 3 of Doug Peterson's offense with Trevor Lawrence. Maybe they run, a little less out of the shotgun because in that final preseason game, I think it was against the Falcons, he was under center a handful of times and looked pretty good. Peterson said he didn't really do it in college, but he's really grown. He's become more confident, he's just getting more comfortable with it as well. And yeah, the Texans, they are the darlings of the division, but I think that the Jags are going to take a huge step forward, especially after last season. I think the offense is going to be better than it was 2 seasons ago when they had ranked so high and Doug Peterson had just come in here. And that was kind of what I was counting Trevor Lawrence's rookie year as, because the Urban Meyer year to me just didn't even really
count. Memory hole it.
Exactly. But the AFC South is so competitive, and I think it's just going to be so much more fun than we're used to, minus the Titans. They have a lot of things to do. But in general, the Jags are taking a huge step forward, and Trevor Lawrence is about to go off.
I love it. I hate how much I agree with the tiny box on a tiny table because I kind of want to just
What?
just fire some
Greg, what
arrows
would you
at
like
her.
to do?
I don't know. It just would be fun. But I'm so with you. I kind of
For
think
those listening, she just held the mic out. That is broken.
It's like a boom at this point. All right.
We got sound.
I'm with you. I think it's his year. I don't know. We'll see if the whole rest of the organization can stand up with him, but I kind of think they'll be good in general. But I think it's time. It's time for Trevor Lawrence.
I really like Trevor Lawrence's potential.
Yeah.
I am less sold on the infrastructure from a coaching and that perspective around him. I think I would like to see him reach new levels in his game. I would like to see him
The turnovers, the fumbles.
but I'd
would
like
love
to
for those to be cleaned up.
Yes,
Mental errors,
exactly.
but just him getting some
Take the
support.
next step forward, getting that support, not just with playmakers or weapons, but also with the infrastructure of the offense.
Mhm.
And you see quarterbacks take steps forward around this time. I would like to see that from him. He was one of the most highly touted prospects in recent memory. I remember watching him play in college. He was unbelievable.
Yeah.
And I love the hair.
He's been a very
element
good pro.
of this that-
He's
that
been a
we've-
very
that
good
we've
pro.
brought in. Yeah,
If
he's been a very good pro. I think he's capable of all I'm saying is that I think he is capable of reaching that next level, that next step. I would like to see the infrastructure around him to get him there.
All right, pass over that table because we're going to just do a quick speed round. Stay standing
Throw it.
because
God, hold on a second. There's a lot of moving parts here. Let me put the mic back.
More than expected.
that.
Trevor Lawrence reminds me a lot of the guy. We're just going to throw out the last one just so we have it on the record. He reminds me of Kyler Murray because if they weren't both taken first overall, people would be like, oh, good quarterback, above average quarterback, but the expectations are so high. So I've said it on the show, but I did want to just have it for the record. Kyler Murray is going to have a monster season. I say he gets MVP votes to just put it on it. Now they vote for 5, and if you look last year, 9 or 10 guys got votes, but he would have to be one of the 8 or 9 best players in the league. Kyler Murray gets MVP votes.
Like
and then,
multiple votes, not just the sort of the one-off, multiple.
no, you just need 2. If someone votes him 4th, that counts as multiple votes.
Okay.
2 votes.
Okay.
He gets MVP votes.
Just filing it away.
And then
for stakes purposes.
Chris Olave has a monster season. What's success for a Chris Olave season? I'm going to go 90 catches, 1,300 yards, monster year, Chris Olave. They might not be in prime time much. They might not win many games, but Chris Olave, physical receiver. He can get down the field. He can catch the short stop routes. I think he's ready to be the guy where when we're making our preseason all-pro team next year, maybe Chris Olave is on that list.
Quick question.
Yeah,
who do you think will be throwing to him?
Derek Carr for most of the season, and then probably Spencer Rattler at the
Oh, you handed it to me. Thank
There
you
you go.
so much.
Wow.
All right.
Put it at your feet.
I've got 2. Thank you for laying the tiny table at my feet. Very
The
biblical.
Bills were mine too, but I already
I
said
scooted
it.
that
I
in too
already
far. I almost was tabletopped by the large
I
table.
almost did that earlier.
There we go.
Yeah.
All right. Okay, I've got 2. One is a little bit longer. I'm sorry. I'm going to honk on this for a little
Yeah.
bit. I think that
Speed round. We're speed rounding it. It's
I
speed
think
round.
I got the table in the high ground, so I have power. Max Crosby, I think, should be in serious consideration for Defensive Player of the Year. I'm tired of voters.
Well, he was last
Hun-
year. Okay.
Greg,
Should I continue or no?
I mean, he was.
I'm feeling too much power. There's too much adrenaline coursing through my veins. But yeah, I think he wins defensive player.
Okay,
He was in conversation, but I don't think in serious enough conversation last year. I think not only serious conversation, I think he should win it. Potentially putting Christian Wilkins next to him, you're actually getting this man help on the inside. You know, it was kind of insane watching or going through Next Gen on some of these pressure stats.
Speed round it.
Comparison. I'm tired of voters punishing bad teams with great players on it. So 79 pressures tied for 8th, 14.5 sacks tied for 5th with less help. So you're adding Christian Wilkins. But here's the crazy thing. Teams, because the offense was so bad, teams were running the ball like crazy against this group. So 410 of his 1,037, the most in the league of any pass rusher snaps, were on run defense, which is first by a long shot. And he still had 90 tackles, which was first among all pass rushers. Once you get this man some help, he will be the defensive player.
I love that one.
And then also, I think Jackson Smith-Njigba becomes the number 1 volume receiver. Heard he really impressed the new staff in Seattle.
Seattle. Ooh, that's good. That was a spicy one to end with.
I told you I could do this.
I'm not awarding points. It's up to you. If you want any more, you can have it. We just wanted to get all our takes out.
Doing a quick speed round.
I was spewing on the tiny table.
It's fine. I might as well just do it. Falcons win the division, and I think the AFC South gets 3 teams in.
Okay. I like that. Done. And these will all be recorded for posterity. Eric, Randy, and Christy will decide at the end of the year who gets the stakes. I think that was a clever way to do it. That's the stakes.
Yeah, like
stakes are stakes.
Mm-hmm. I want a fillet.
We are going to take a quick break, and when we come back, we will bask in the afterglow of what we just accomplished with the Tiny Table segment. No, we're actually going to preview the Thursday night game. Chiefs.
More
Ravens.
football stuff.
We are back on NFL Daily.
In chairs.
In normal chairs, not on tables. Got it all figured out. What a delight.
You have it all figured out, all of it.
We've really got things under control here.
Exactly.
Little bit of news popped up while we were taping the show. Cameron Hayward got a nice little pay bump, $16 million in full guarantees, a 3-year extension. You know, they put some flowery words on it. That's like the most guarantees for someone this age. But really, they just gave him a little pay bump this year to one of the great Pittsburgh Steelers. So good news for Cameron Hayward. Let's get into the Thursday night game. It's kickoff. It's Ravens. It's Chiefs. Someone in 345 Park was like, let's not mess around and even put like a B+, A- level team or game here. Let's just go with our biggest game of the year right off the bat. I'll start with you, Jourdan, just like a matchup or something about this game that you're excited about.
I'm going to steal yours from you because I already know what yours is going to be.
I love that. Ooh,
how do you know?
Because,
what are you mad?
Because I've done.
You mad, bro?
Because I was here in July.
Okay. It's like because I was throwing tomatoes at you.
You were. You know what? That was great though. I did have like sort of a Monty Python-esque flashback vision of being, you're standing on a little stool and someone's throwing little cherry tomatoes at you. Like that was Gregg for me. I started stammering.
Definitely did not.
You did not. All right, go on.
But Gregg does that sometimes. Just giving tiny tomato.
Resting Gregg face
it's
does
giving
that.
tiny tomato. God.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So, are the Chiefs going to get more explosive pass plays? Are they going to be
that
throwing
was not my point.
the ball down the field? I do think this is something that really has been discussed ad nauseum. Thank you.
I'm sorry.
I'm
now
so glad you're here.
I'm throwing.
No, I'm so glad you're here. I am so glad you're here.
Heckler, like wingman, I got you.
I needed this. The girls are all here. So
yeah,
I do think that, there's been like some buzz and some hype, Xavier Worthy, and just some other elemental aspects of this offense. Patrick Mahomes has talked about it at length. He's been asked about it at length of getting more dimension, those third level dimension back, because defenses have totally changed over the last couple of years to try to literally constrict down over the top of his passing game. I also think, though, when you add this much speed, and I'm curious to see this is my hunch that I've had all offseason, kind of like a Dolphins-esque approach. When you add so much speed, you really are able to use some of these motions and shifts to exploit the middle of the field because your players can simply get there faster than defenders can drop, and their drops are changing. So the movement that they're taking from back to front changes because of the pre-snap misdirection and because of all of the speed. So I'm curious. It's a little bit borrowed. Andy Reid always is scheming, always is innovating. I'm curious to see not just if they add a third layer to this defense or this offense, unlike which they've struggled with these new defenses, but also I'm curious to see whether they add some of that different field and space movement.
Yeah, look, they were one of the least explosive offenses in the league last year, which is crazy, and the Ravens were the best defense in the league at preventing big plays. And Roquan Smith was quoted saying this week, the Ravens linebackers, like, we want to make them one-dimensional. We want to take away the run. I was just like, whoa, that you don't hear that too often. And yet, like, I get it. The Ravens are confident in their secondary. They were that good in terms of defending the pass last year with so many injuries. Marlon Humphrey, he's one preseason hype story. I'm kind of buying that he's like healthier and feeling better. Nate Wiggins, their first round draft pick. I'm really excited to see. Hollywood Brown is not in this game. I should have mentioned the injury update. He's the only significant player who's going to miss this game. He might be back as soon as week 2 or 3, but he's out. Otherwise, these two teams are really healthy. And for the Ravens, that's really rare. So Kyle Hamilton, this whole group is out there. And can they make the Chiefs one-dimensional? That seems a little crazy to me.
I think that, they have so much talent on defense, but losing their defensive coordinator, Mike McDonald, losing their defensive line coach, Anthony Weaver, losing their DBs coach, Denard Wilson, is kind of a big deal. So this is a massive spot for Zach Orr to start in, like really just ripping the Band-Aid off here. Let's watch you defend the Chiefs now with all of this speed that they have with Xavier Worthy, the way that he can stretch the field. This is a massive test. I think that I'm going to Kansas City tomorrow for the game.
Brag.
I'm
I
so
didn't know
excited
that.
for
That's
you.
pretty
Oh
cool.
my God,
I
that's
can't
awesome.
wait. And I know that it's one of the best places to watch a game in the entire NFL. It's so loud. So to be there for this matchup, somehow.
You going to be on the Jumbotron and everything?
No.
Okay. I didn't know what you were doing.
Doing something with Alex Smith before.
Great.
Yeah. But, and then I just get to hang out the game.
Nice name drop. I love that for you too. That's
yeah, I'm going to ask a lot about Andy Reid. But I just really want to see how the Ravens defense, if it looks different even a little bit at all with just the shift and the movement within the coaching ranks. But for the Chiefs defensively, it's going to be all about tackling. Tackling with Derrick Henry now in Baltimore, tackling with Lamar's mobility, and then defensively on the back end with all of the rookies that they have in their secondary. That's huge.
I want to talk about something too that goes, I think, overlooked when we see these seasons extend longer than ever in history, and a team that has played longer into the postseason than any other team in NFL history at this point in the Kansas City Chiefs is if you are the opponent going against them in an opener such as this, you are looking to make some sort of push you around statement that has the opponent reeling for weeks at a time. You saw it a couple of years ago when the Bills came out and kicked the Rams in the mouth and totally disrupted their entire season. You see it when a team can play into the postseason and then they just get tired and they gas out and they wear down the stretch. You saw that with the Eagles. The Chiefs so far have not shown necessarily that they're not as physical, not as able to really put things together during a back stretch. I do want to read a graph, a very short graph from my colleague Nate Taylor at The Athletic. His second paragraph in his recent story of how Steve Spagnuolo is preparing his defensive players. They're all wearing white long sleeve T-shirts around in the locker room that feature 2 words in block lettering across the chest: rock solid. And then the back of the shirt says no toughness, no championship. And they know that.
Okay. And I get it, but they haven't come out of the gates swinging that well. They lost the opener, as everyone remembers last year. The offense never really got it going. A couple of years ago, you remember they started 1-2. They started 3-4. They did win the opener that year. But they have had a tendency to start slow, even though Andy Reid tends to throw a lot out there. Now, there's a lot they feel good about. Rashee Rice is playing in this game. I didn't mention, he's not getting suspended. He's going to be there. Obviously, Travis Kelce, all that. You mentioned the run game, though, and the toughness. But they are a team you can run on. Even last year you can run on them. And you think about the Ravens, and I did check out a little NFL Pro. I gotta tell you,
I love
it's kind of like
it's so
Pretty
fun.
awesome.
gonna make
I use it all the time just to go down rabbit holes.
it's a little much. Oh, it's almost making it too easy.
Yeah.
But the run game against a team that struggled against the run a lot, and the Ravens are awesome. And then it was very interesting to see some numbers they had, how Lamar Jackson during the season was the best quarterback in the league against single high, which makes sense. And in the playoff game, though, against these two teams, he averaged like 5 yards per attempt. And during the regular season, too, the Chiefs struggled at this. They often struggle defensively against play action. The Ravens aren't like the highest play action team in the league, but they're top 10 in terms of play action. And they were the number 1 team in the league in terms of EPA per play action. So just all the ways that they can mess you up with the run game, whatever spice they're going to add with Derrick Henry and Justice Hill. I don't think people realize Justice Hill, I think, is going to have a significant part of this offense. And it might only be like 8 to 10 plays, but there'll be plays that you're like, okay, that's such a different flavor than Derrick Henry. So between him and Lamar and Derrick Henry, I just think it's a lot. And I do think the Ravens can make some hay there on the ground against Kansas City.
It kind of feels like to me those T-shirts are another subtle way of saying, remember, this team has freaking Derrick Henry now.
That's
like,
a good point.
tighten up, guys. Like, it's like, get
and
on
they're
lock
gonna be
up front.
doing the Super Bowl banner unveiling pregame. Like, it's a whole thing.
And they know how that felt last year to do all that and then lose. It stunk for them. I'm all
buzzkill.
Yeah, I'm going to be curious to see Kingsley Suamatea, who's their rookie left tackle. Can the Ravens confuse him a little bit just mentally as a left tackle? Of like, they like to show all the different types of pressures and stunts, and sim pressures, and all that stuff. And keep an eye on when Pacheco runs, because they're going to try to run a lot for Kansas City. Just keep an eye on Trent Simpson, who I think is going to have a big season. He's replacing Patrick Queen as this like run stuffer. I think the Ravens love Trent Simpson. I think they think they're not going to lose anything without Patrick Queen. So that's one I'm going to be watching. Let's pick this game. What the heck? Let's start with Colleen.
I'm taking the Chiefs.
Okay. Close one, or like I think it's a 3.5 point spread.
27-24 if I must give a score.
Okay.
I'm taking the Ravens. And I'm actually going to just completely do the opposite. Ravens 27-24.
Like it.
I'll take the Chiefs. I don't feel great about it by a point. I would take the points, like if we were picking versus the spread, but I've just picked against the Chiefs and been wrong in individual games so many times. It just seems stupid. Why bother?
I'm just flying really close to the sun. I was standing on the table, the tiny table, and I was really high in the air, and I just thought, why not go all the way to the sun?
Yeah.
Yes, I love it.
I like it.
And that way, like listeners who check out Jourdan and I, we're going to be doing the Thursday night recap right after the game. Really excited about that. We're going to go live on YouTube, which is going to be fun. So
that's news.
all you NFL Daily listeners, we just found out too. We're going to try it.
Wow.
We want to try.
I'll send you guys updates from the game.
Yeah, please do.
Yeah, selfie with it.
It'll be so insightful.
We want to have everyone check that out, but we will have a show before that. Patrick Claybon going to be with me in the studio. We're going to preview all the week 1 games. I'm so excited. Daniel Jeremiah is also going to be a part of that show, helping us to preview the games. So this was delightful. Thank you, guys.
What a time.
We need to do this again.
This crew.
We need to do this every week.
I enjoyed it. Colleen, I've been such a fan of yours for forever. I know you're going to hate me for saying this out loud on the show, but oh my gosh, I'm so glad to be sitting next to you.
Oh, stop it. That's so nice. I should have brought that champagne that I was talking about.
Standing next to you.
Yeah, I know. What happened to the champagne? Jordan, with all her sincerity and kindness.
He's just the sweetest.
It's too much for our black hearts.
I know.
Not at
so
all.
much love on this side of the table.
Play the song. We're going to go. This was fun. Every year we're going to do this at the end of the year. They'll decide who won between the 3 of us.
I love a competition.
Again, we will be back on Thursday. Can't wait for that with Patrick Claybon. For Colleen, for Jourdan. Football's back.